Thanks for tuning in to the Spread Your Wingspan podcast.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jenny.
And we're your hosts, two friends who immediately bonded over our secret smut addictions. So join us as we journey together through our favorite romance and fantasy stories and discuss all things kinks, female pleasure, taboos, and more.
Make sure to check out the show notes for any spoiler alerts and content warnings. We're happy you're here. Let's get to today's pod.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Jenny.
How's it going?
It's going okay. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. This is going to be a fun one.
I think so too. We've teased this episode for a while.
Yes.
Since last season, I think.
I think we might have mentioned it on one of the first couple of episodes.
Yeah. So I have to tell you two things before we get started because my husband will be really upset if I don't.
Okay.
So I'm telling him about this book and he goes, "Is it Unhinged?" And I was like, "Look, that's the title." And he was like, "Oh." And then he goes, "Does she get knocked up?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "You were like knocked?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Make sure you tell the joke on the podcast." So I officially have.
Thank you, Tyler. That was an excellent addition to the intro for today's episode. We appreciate you.
So yes, if you didn't know already, we're talking about the book Unhinged, the erotic novella about a door shifter.
Yes, which, to Tyler's credit, we kept referring to it as the doorknob book, and until I went to look it up to put it on our internal notes episode list, I was like, Unhinged.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know the name of it. So
delightful.
So I'm glad that Tyler got there independently, but I also had a chuckle and I was like, Unhinged is the name of the doorknob book.
Yes. I was working out with my trainer yesterday, and he has many clients who read books in the romantasy genre, and so he asked me about our podcast, and I was like telling him about this book, and he just had this look on his face like, "What?" And I was like, yeah, it's a weird one. So without further ado, the content warnings: stalking/voyeurism, mention of gender-based abuse and murder, threat of sexual assault, and insertion of inanimate object.
Mm-hmm. Until it becomes animate, but starts out as inanimate.
Synopsis. Driss is a solid oak wooden door, and he's sentient. He's also in love with the occupant of his apartment, Tana. Driss is sentient due to his father being Zeus and his mother being a dryad. Of course. Tana is being stalked by her creepy superintendent, I think, a man who Driss has seen murder another woman. One day, Driss is visited by his father, who tells him that he can be turned into a mortal man if he gets Tana to fuck him while he's a door. Driss gets to visit Tana in her dreams in order to convince her to do just that. Surprisingly, this works, and Tana fucks her front door. He turns into a dreamy mortal man, and together they prevent Tana from being assaulted and murdered and get the creepy super arrested. Unfortunately, in the fight, Driss is shot and turns back into a door. Fortunately, Tana is able to retrieve him from evidence some months later, fucks him as a door again, and then fucks him when he's turned back into a human from said door fucking. All is well.
That's the best summary you've yet. The emoting, you've never been so... I don't know. I'm curious. We'll get into it, but I feel like you maybe didn't enjoy this, and you maybe begrudgingly just read the synopsis.
That is correct.
Okay.
I did not enjoy any part of this.
Okay.
Not really. So yeah, we're gonna get into that. Obviously, I also wrote this very stoned. So it was last night. Last night, it was like 9 p.m. and I'd already been stoned, and I was like, "Oh shit, I have to write the summary." So that was with Tyler, and I was like telling Tyler what happened as I was like, "Okay," and then this happens.
Guys, welcome to our laugh track episode.
And I was like, should I tell people that he named himself Driss after Idris Elba?
Oh my god, that might have been my favorite part of the book.
Yeah.
Because they were watching a movie with Idris Elba, and he, as a door, used to watch Tana watch movies.
Yes.
And so he knew
of Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. And so he's like, I want to pick a cool name. How about Driss?
So our themes, I was struggling for these as well. Like female dom, male sub, female sexual empowerment, ? And maybe fuck your doorknob, but only if it's wearing a condom? ?
I mean, to her credit, she does disinfect the doorknob, but she's like, Doorknobs are kind of gross.
And, like, honestly, protect your vaginas, ladies. Like,
Yes.
yeah, we don't, an infection, no good, no bueno.
Yes.
So that was the right call.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah. Especially when he's a man and he's, like, wearing the condom still, and that's how she, like, realizes it's her door.
Not that her door has just disappeared.
She's like, oh, I guess it must be you because there's a condom on your penis where your doorknob
Yeah,
was.
guys, the plots points in this book are very thin. I think the point of it was simply to be entertained, which I was.
It absolutely is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very clearly, and all of her books, I was looking them up, have you looked them up?
No.
Are like, one is like the Kool-Aid Man.
Like
The jug of Kool-Aid that like knocks down the door and is like, and another one is a balloon. Like a balloon animal.
Well, she does say in the book, Tana makes a point that was like, well, people stick when she's disinfecting,
Women fuck
but
all sorts of things.
and she says something balloons, and I was like, put a pin in this. Do people actually fuck balloons? But she's hearkening to another book
Referencing her other story. She must be. Yeah, so this is like her milieu, as far as I can tell.
Weird, absurd.
And I think they're all short, and I think they're all like funny, right? This is clearly satire. This is not like just spoiler alert, this is not very erotica. Like the erotica is not good in here.
Yeah.
And it's not really that smutty, all things considered. But when we like tell you the premise is she fucks her door, and I also tell you it's not that like erotic, like it's not that graphic even.
Yeah.
Like
it is more, I found it more comedic than sexy.
Yes,
sure.
but at the same time, it's like really trying to like make a lot of points about like female sexual power politics. I don't know. So it's also like, is this reaching above what it needs to as well? Certainly the most like thought out plot point is this like creepy guy in her apartment and it's like kind of weird that this like novella about fucking a door is like actually really about evading being murdered by your superintendent. Like,
and that she needs to be saved by her door, who needs to turn into a man in order to prevent her from drinking the poisoned orange juice.
correct.
Yeah.
For her mimosas.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Mimosa Sunday. He knows you're going to drink your mimosa. Oh,
He
God.
also knows when you get your period.
Yes, which I thought that was funny. And then her blue shivering stick. He refers to her vibrator as the blue shivering stick.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's like, every time you get out your blue shivering stick. And she's like, creepy.
Yeah, she's like, you've been spying on me? And he's like, I'm literally your door. He's like, what am I supposed to do? I look at you.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
If you wanted privacy, you could have shut your other door.
And she's like, well, I didn't think my door would be spying on
A
me.
creeper.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
Your reaction.
My reaction, I thought it was hilarious. I'm glad that I now know what the doorknob book is.
Mhm.
Because it just kept coming up. We kept talking about it, and we're like, wait, somebody fucks her door? And like, I actually didn't know that the door was sentient. I just knew that a woman fucked a door.
You didn't know it was a door shifter?
No.
Mm.
But then that part, again, thin plot here. Thin plot.
She
But
does explain it.
She does explain it. Yeah, there is an explanation, but it's like, typical fairy tale. You have one sleep cycle in a dream to visit Tana and convince her to fuck you so that you can turn into a guy because you're made from some holy oak.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. The door fucking puns I thought were pretty funny. Like, she's liberal with them.
Yes.
And I wrote down two that I thought were my favorite. She says, I didn't know that all doors were freaky pressboard pervs. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Because she's like, are all doors sentient? He's like, no, I'm made from a special oak.
Yeah. He's like, I'm solid oak. Excuse me. I'm not pressboard.
A freaky pressboard perv. And then at some point, he was watching Tana do something and he was turned on. And Driss said, if I hadn't already been made of wood, I'd be stiff as a board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, you had to put that in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and at one point early on in the book, she like presses her boobs against him to look out the peephole, and his deadbolt flicks out.
Yes, so we learn he can make tiny little
Occasionally.
motions.
Well, that seemed it was involuntary. It was a little tiny door boner, I suppose. But his dick is the knob, so it's confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe human anatomy doesn't apply.
She's like about to fuck the door, and she's like, "Wiggle if you don't want this." Like, and he's like, "Don't move, don't wiggle. I want this." Like, so consent is involved, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, she's trying to be respectful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did think it was funny that if you had a dream like this that she had, and was visited by in human form. He's like, I'm your door.
Yeah.
And I'm trapped in this form, but I am actually a sentient dryad. Like, if you fuck me, I will not be a door anymore. And you're in danger. I need to help you. And of course she wakes up and she's like, am I tripping? Like,
that was a weird dream.
It was a weird dream. But then she sees like creepy things that her superintendent is doing, and that's what she gets scared, basically.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, this guy is actually a creeper. There might be
Yeah.
something to my dream. Maybe I should, just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case, maybe I'll, get my protector.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not just fuck the door?
Yeah.
That's when she's like, women fuck weird things all the time.
Yes.
Which again, that part of the novel like, I really get behind. I'm like, yeah, like exploring women's specific sexuality in this way of perviness or like super taboo.
Yeah.
But also like really like also commonplace. Like, yeah, women do. Like girls masturbate on laundry machines, on the corners of tables, on pillows. Like, especially when you're like first exploring your sexuality, you might not have access to a shivery blue stick.
Yeah. Or you're not even quite cognitively sure of what's happening. You're just like, I have this instinct to do this thing.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that, I'm like, yeah, I would love to see more of that in the world, right? Of like, isn't that great or funny that we do this?
Yeah. And she's even like, if anybody saw me right now, they'd think I'm crazy. Like, I'm about to fuck my doorknob.
Yeah. So for my reaction, that's one of the things that I just really struggled with. I was like, how painful that would be. Like, it just like was so, she was describing it and I was like, no, like it just was not in any way described to me. And I was like, sure, okay. Like, so it's like, even though the character enjoys it, I was like, oh, no. Yeah. Like, it was very...
But as I look at the doorknob,
like,
she didn't at any point really describe the doorknob, did she?
It was a round doorknob.
She did describe
because
it. I mean, that's how I pictured it, because that was the only way I could, in my mind, like, wrap my brain around this even being pleasurable at all.
Yes, because Driss describes the kind of doorknob he makes sure her new door has.
Okay.
That's different than him, so she doesn't feel tempted to fuck the new door. So that part was tough for me. It wasn't even like, I was expecting her to like kind of like rub her clit on the doorknob, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to go straight. I'm just inserting.
Well, she used her vibrator first.
She did, but then she just like plops her vag on the doorknob and is like, ouch. And then I don't know.
Yeah. Mechanics did not work.
Yeah. I was like, oh. I was expecting like just to like using it to masturbate, rubbing against it, that counting as fucking. I really wasn't like, oh, she's going straight to putting it in. Okay. I also really, so you all know I enjoy being praised. I do not like it in the reverse.
What?
The good boy really doesn't work for me.
Oh my gosh, that's surprising to me.
Like actively, no. And probably because I tell my tiny baby boy that he's a good boy like 45 times a day. And my like kitty cats are like good boys. I don't know, like, you can call me a good girl, but I'm never calling you a good boy, ever. No, it's just like, it's really not the dynamic that turns me on. So I really struggled with that.
Yeah, she's almost like, you are my pet, my door.
Yes. Almost like, yeah, again, like it has dog, like that's your dog vibes.
Yeah, total golden retriever vibes.
Yeah, and that's And again, I read monster smut, you guys. It's not like my line is usually like not, it's kind of hard to cross. So I was surprised that I was like so turned off by this. The smut was not smutting for me. And then my final point is like, I almost felt like it was too well written for how bad it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, and props to this author, like she writes well. In fact, I think the mechanics of this writing, like the grammar and the syntax and like the way she wove sentences together is maybe even better than some of the other books we've read. Mm-hmm. And yet it's inside this like absolute joke of a story. And so I was like, I kind of want this to be like so laughably bad. Like even the writing is bad. Like, again, it was like, I feel like I feel like it should have been even more unhinged, to be honest.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Again, because there's this like very like real, like, oh, this guy might murder her plotline, and it like really dominated the story, and it was a lot less about actually her in the door, ultimately. Where it could have been, I think, like a little bit more like lighthearted.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know? So that's kind of what.
Yeah, or maybe a longer book and actually. Well, so what was our. my criticism of Misadventures of a Curvy Girl, totally different
It
book.
wasn't long
But I
enough.
was like, oh, I actually would have wanted this to be a longer book and given me more stuff. But did you like it enough that, or dislike it enough that you're like, no, I'm actually glad this ended when it did? Yeah.
Yeah, just because I didn't like the smut. So like if I had liked the smut, I would have been like, more of that, please.
Yeah.
Right? But I really did not care to read too many more sex scenes where she was telling him what a good boy he was.
That's fair.
And or having a doorknob inside of her vagina. Really.
So one thing that I think I told you off recording, right after I finished reading it before we were recording, is that, you know, I audiobook, and there was a narrator for Tana. The door gentleman narrated the book, and then when Tana was speaking, it was her voice.
Okay, so it wasn't a man trying to do a woman's voice?
Nope. Which was nice. And she was kind of ditzy. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, this is like real porn speak. Like, it was that ditzy, like, am I really gonna fuck my door? Like, which made it so entertaining for me.
Yeah.
And the way that Driss was like, Tan, my love, I thought was really well narrated, which lent itself to being way more funny to me than smutty. So I enjoyed it because it really...
It felt like porn satire almost, it sounds
kind
like.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like, you know, the cliche, like, you know, hunky delivery guy knocks on the door with a pizza box kind of thing. It's
But
like...
it is the door.
But it is the door. Yeah, kind of thing. So the narrators did a good job. And I did like that the narrator that just did Tana's voice literally just did her lines.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was from the door's perspective. So I liked the good boy aspect of it because I just thought it was really cute the way it was acted out.
Yeah.
It made sense to me. And I don't have a problem with good boy stuff, but I get it.
Yeah, really.
Really rubbed you the wrong way.
Yeah, I was like, oh, no. So this is interesting because you had mentioned this when we were briefly texting about this, about how you enjoyed the audiobook, and you know, and then I've been thinking about how it seems like the From Blood and Ash audiobooks are not as good of a reading experience as visual reading. And people on Reddit concur with that. Like, that's generally, people are like, yeah, it's really not the best audiobook experience. And then people who are visual readers are like, interesting. So it does seem like as we go further in our exploration of these books together, sometimes it is a case where it's like, it works both ways. And sometimes it does seem like there's a real advantage to either listening or visual reading.
Could be.
And in this case, it does seem to do a lot with like how voices, pronunciation, acting, like that kind of is like, so the modern audiobooks as we've been talking about them, right? Versus if it's just read, it wouldn't be that big of a difference. So in this case, like, it sounds like the acting added some levity where the visual reading was really lacking. Because I was just reading these lines and I was like...
It was your interpretation, your voices in your head. It wasn't somebody performing for you, trying to elicit a certain reaction to the material.
And, like, I can read humorous stuff and, like, know that it's funny. So it's not like, you know...
No, but I do think that if you were to read Shakespeare on the page, having never seen somebody act out Shakespeare...
That's such a good comment.
You're going to perceive it through your lens versus somebody who's immersed themselves in the material and they're like, no, we're going to give you this performance.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good point. And who knew we would compare reading Unhinged to seeing Shakespeare performed live?
Yeah, kind of adjacent.
Similar levels of art.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really know. I honestly feel like I don't have too much more to say.
I knew this was going to be a short one. It was a tiny little novella. I think the reason why we read this is because it kept coming up on like, oh, this book is absurd.
Yeah, and like I think it's meant to be, right? Like that's the whole point. And I really love that like at this point the genre has circled itself back so far that there is now satire. Love that. Like that's so interesting. I think, you know, we're even getting to the point where that's happening not just with romance but with romantasy as well. Like that whole series about like that time I like yeeted a love potion on a werewolf or something is like the title is. They're all kind of like that. And I think I've heard that they're good books. I started to read the first one and I couldn't get into it myself, but they are very like, let's use the tropes, let's, you know, hit all the beats in this kind of delightful satire, reverent satire, I would say. So that's fun. Again, I did enjoy. I'm like, there. She tried. She's like, I'm gonna offer an explanation as to why this door is sentient. And it's so he's describing Zeus walking down the hallway because I have notes. Oh, we're using my phone to record this. Like I had notes of my like reactions, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like, "Wait, this is Zeus. Zeus is in this novel." And he's like, "Yeah, this knot in this tree was really alluring." And as a way to explain to his son, who is a door, that's the reason he exists. And I was just like, what? Zeus fucked a tree, and now that tree is this. No, the offspring is this door of this random apartment complex that somehow faces the woods.
And yet here we are today laughing about it.
Well, I was like, okay, there's an explanation. Versus like I went in there kind of like not even expecting.
Yeah, like why does this door exist as a sentient door?
Yeah, like you didn't need to do that.
No,
it's already absurd. Yeah, premise. And Hera's involved, and Hera's kind of like, oh yeah, Zeus, he sucks. He just like fucks anything, right? He's the worst.
Fair.
Yeah. But it's okay. At the end, Tana retrieves her door from evidence because what happens is there's this like tussle with the creepy guy, and Driss gets shot, but turns back into a door, and then he like falls on the guy and kills him as a door. So then the police come and they're like, "There's this random door here that killed this guy. We have to take it in as evidence." Mm-hmm. So then Tana like convinces the cops months later to give her this door back, and she's like about to fuck him in lingerie while he's a door. And she's like, Hera came to me in a dream and explained what I need to do. And I'm like, but girl, you already knew what you needed to do.
Yeah, but because he got shot, every full moon he's going to turn back into a door. But if she fucks him, he'll turn back into a human for that month.
Right, but like...
Which was unnecessary, but okay.
Because she already fucked him as a door and he turned into a man once. So I was like, couldn't you just try to fuck him again anyway?
Yeah.
Why didn't you need Hera to come tell you to do that? It had already happened.
I don't know. But she wasn't told that he was going to turn back into a door every full moon. That piece of information was not given.
Yeah, I don't know that information was necessary.
She had to wrap up the book somehow.
I suppose so.
And actually, when that happened, I was like, "Oh, is this the end? Is this where we're ending?"
Yeah, and again, like they only fucked as humans the one time.
Oh, she gave him a hand job.
Yeah.
It was pretty boring.
Yeah.
He really loved it.
Well, he's never experienced.
Oh, Tana.
Real good boy.
So funny. Oh, my sweet, beautiful Tana.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a novella where the guy is like utterly devoted, like just like utterly devoted, super in love, and like it's not like she doesn't like him back, but it's definitely clear that it's like he'll do whatever she wants, and she's like, great. Then this is the one for you. Yeah.
And if you want
to love,
love for sure.
If the idea of inserting a doorknob into your vagina gives you the heebie-jeebies, maybe don't read it.
Yeah, you can skip it. It's a quick read. You're not going to lose sleep over not reading it.
Yeah, or honestly, you could even just like skip those scenes. They don't add, again, other than being the act that brings Driss to life. It doesn't add too much.
Yeah. Oh, I did tell you there are sound effects during the first fucking. There's like the squeaking of the hinges and like the door hitting which brilliantly funny.
Well, because the second time she fucks him, he's on the ground because he's come from evidence. He's just like a loose door. Yeah. And the mechanics of like she pulls over an ottoman and kneels on it, and I was like, is she going to be the right height? You know me.
I do.
I always get caught up on the
physically believable.
Physics. Yeah, and I was like, could she angle yourself properly to get?
Yeah, I just went with it
inside you.
Yeah.
And I just like can't imagine using your vibrator to an extent where then you can do that.
They didn't describe how
big he was.
Girthy the vibrator was. Maybe it was like a monster.
I suppose so. Yeah.
If that makes it more believable.
Yeah, I don't know. Just as somebody who's like recently given birth and had a very large round object in that part of my body and how hard, excruciatingly painful it was. Yeah, I was like, no.
Nope.
Don't do it, Tana. Just rub your clit on him. I'm sure that'll count.
Or at least have that be plan A. Insertion can always be plan B.
To go straight for it. I mean, I guess good on you, girl. she was like, this will be fine for me. I Lysoled it. I put a condom on. We good.
Safe doorknob sex.
Safe
Always
doorknob
recommended.
It is always interesting when condoms come up in romance novels. I always like pay attention to if there's like if a character's like, oh, I've been tested recently. Have you like, which fair? Let's promote safe sex
fair. Like there are agreements that
like,
can be made.
Like the author's like, I need to give a reason why there's no condom and that's okay.
Yeah.
Or where they're like, I must use a condom always. That's a really interesting like subset of reading romance.
Yes.
Is like safe sex of it all.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's part of this book.
Yes.
With a door.
Yes.
She does not get knocked up. Because they use a condom.
Tyler. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. He's like, I've been waiting my whole life to make this joke. Do you have any other things to say?
I think that's it. I think thank you for the left turn into absurdity.
Yes.
We can get back to our highbrow conversations next time. Yeah, I think we said, like, should we figure out what this year's doorknob book is? I don't know. Has one popped up in the Reddits?
Not that I've seen, but I can look more specifically for that.
Yeah. We might take a left turn into absurdity again for you guys.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Heck yeah. It's again nice to pepper in a little break. We are reading Monsters next. Okay, so I was reading because I got it on my Kindle. And I was reading like the Kindle reviews, and I was like, okay, that's interesting because some people like just like love 5 stars, and then some people really take issue with specific things in the book. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting for me to read because I was kind of like anticipating I might agree with those people. Who knows? We'll see. But I did not realize Joni Mitchell was one of the people she talks about.
Not in the way that you're anticipating she's going to think about her.
They were mentioning that how Joni Mitchell placed her child for adoption.
Yes. But the context, do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah.
So the context of how Joni Mitchell comes up is she's doing, once she presents once she presents some of the cases of the men that are awful and the reasons why they're awful and kind of dissecting that, she then asks the question, as a woman and as a mother, is it possible for mothers to be monsters?
Yeah.
And so she ultimately doesn't say that Joni Mitchell is a monster. What she is ultimately saying as a writer is that Joni Mitchell made the choice when she was young for her art. And it was the best choice for her at the time to give up her daughter for adoption because of the situation and because of what she wanted to do with her life.
Interesting.
And so that's an example. And there are a couple of other women that she talks about, female artists who either didn't have children or had children and, maybe wasn't the best mother because they were so committed to their art. And so she's trying to reconcile as a writer. Okay. If I go off and do a 6-month thing here, like a fellowship here, and I leave my teenage son at home with my husband, and I am a monster because I'm making that choice as a mother and an artist. So that's why it comes up.
Okay, so that's interesting because some people have been saying that feels like a separate book, which it does kind of sound. That's interesting about motherhood and artistry.
I think it's woven in beautifully because she.
That's what she's exploring.
That's what she's exploring. Yeah, ultimately, that's what. Well, I mean, she's exploring 2 things. Yeah, the male how monsters. Can we and how do we choose to interact with the art of artists that we learn have done horrible things. And she does speak about J.K. Rowling specifically, which I had forgotten about.
So this came out like post.
This came out 2 years ago.
Turfdom. Okay. Yeah.
And so then, but after she does that, then she, I think probably through the process of writing this book, she starts to do an inquiry of like, well, wait a minute. There have been some awful women who have done awful things, a far smaller subset. Yeah. But they exist. And so she's saying like what usually makes the women monsters are either being bad mothers, neglecting their children, making decisions, like abandoning their children. Sure. Usually that's how we critique the success of a woman.
Right. Versus if a man, it's like, have you raped and murdered a child?
Yeah. Or even beyond, like before even that, like male authors shutting themselves in a room when their kids are pounding on the door saying, daddy, daddy, daddy. Right. And ignoring them.
Like Frank Herbert, famously. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the context of the Joni Mitchell story. I finished the book again. So
you just read it again. Okay. So
we'll
get a schedule.
Yes. So we'll get into it, and I'm really interested for the. I'm interested to. I don't want to give away the last part of her inquiry because I think you'll just enjoy going through. It organically. But now I'll be interested to.
As an artist and mother,
I was thinking about you, and you're not neglecting your child to be a writer in a room. So I'm not saying that, but just curious now that you are a mother, a new mother.
Yeah.
And being a writer.
Yeah.
And probably will always be an inquiry about how to reconcile your craft and being a mother, and how do you balance the two.
Yeah, it's something literally all of my writer friends who are mothers think about and talk about and post about. My friend Jill explicitly writes about it. She's a nonfiction writer. Her newsletter is called, I think, Tiny Disasters.
We'll put it in the show notes.
We will. But you should obviously sign up for her Substack. It's free, and she writes about this literally every week. So yeah.
So that's where we're headed. That's next. We're going back up to intellectual analysis. But it's okay. We need a break. We need a little palate cleanser, a little
doorknob poking.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't need it, but apparently Tana did. So.
The world needed it.
We stand by women. Honestly, as long as you're not gonna hurt yourself, even if you are, it's your body. Do what you want. Fuck whatever you want.
Yeah.
Fuck whatever you want.
Just remember, yeast infections exist.
And maybe just not I mean, anything that can consent, I suppose. A doorknob that doesn't wiggle in protest. He's like, don't wiggle. That part I thought was funny. He's like, be still, self.
Don't give mixed messages. This will never happen again if you do.
Oh, man. I was hoping more deadbolt stuff would come up. I was hoping the deadbolt would always get hard. Anyways.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I had edited this novella, I would have been like, what the?
Need more, more cowbell, more deadbolt.
I got a fever. The only prescription is more deadbolt boners.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I think we just jumped the shark.
That's okay. That's all right. Keep at it. We'll redeem ourselves.
Spice rating.
1.
Yeah. 1. Honestly, which is shocking.
It was the most clinical depiction.
It was like some boring ass missionary where he gets called a good boy. Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she's on top at one point. I don't know.
Yeah. She was, but yeah, boring.
Overall rating.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. Enjoyed it for what it was, but in the scheme of things, a 3.
Yeah.
Would read another one of her books though.
I would,
because I did enjoy the absurdity in the comedy. Yeah.
I maybe would too, especially if I was maybe listening instead of reading.
I would never assume any of them are over a 5.
The Kool-Aid Man one is drinking. I'm like, how does that one work?
Well, maybe that could be our next dip into absurdity. We can read the Kool-Aid one. I would be interested to read that now.
Yeah, and the woman is he's sweating or whatever, perspiring on the cover, and the lady's like,
oh, Lord. Oh, so sad.
Of all the choices. I don't know. All right. Okay.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Spread Your Wings fan podcast.
We would love to hear what you think about our topics today. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You can find us on both with the handle @SpreadYourWingsFan, and all of the links and more fun stuff are found on our website, spreadyourwingsfan.com.
And if you have a book or author you want us to check out, send us an email at hello@spreadyourwingsfan.com to tell us.
We hope you tune into the next episode.